Hi, Supercharger. So let's go over the gray and almost grays and how we use them in actual UI designs. And let's start things off by analyzing existing products. I think that's one of the better places where you can start to kind of learn because you're learning for pros. So try to look at apps that were actually designed by big enough design teams that are popular, that have a lot of users who kind of praise them for what they are. So if you look at those products and the products that have millions and millions of users, you're most likely going to learn a lot more about how to design and how to approach design than by learning from Dribbble or Behance or similar platforms where a lot of experienced designers, but also a lot of beginner designers are sharing their work and getting feedback. You can still learn from those things, get inspired by looking at those designs. But if you actually want to see how experienced and like trained design teams work and do things, it's often best to look at existing products that are done by experienced teams. So I have 3 apps in here that I want to share with you. One of them is Facebook, like a pretty popular example. The other one is Wise. I picked them, I mean, we personally use them, and also I picked them because they recently rebranded, so I just wanted to kind of check up on some of the updates they did. And finally, I picked one of Apple's apps, the Health app. So you kind of have a mix of like a social media platform, a banking app, and also something connected to health. So it's like 3 different industries. All of them, as you can already see, don't use a lot of color in their UI. And most of the focus is actually on the content inside. And the only place where you're going to see pops of colors is either when there are photos present or where there are branded elements inside. So let's start things off with Facebook. What I want to do is I want to first color pick the brand color that they have, and then I want to color pick a couple of gray shades that we can see in their UI. So one of them would be something like this. The other one can be something that's used for text, for example. And the third part can be like this background of some of these shades in here. Let me just quickly create an auto loud so I can easily kind of shift this hues as I see fit based on how dark or light they appear. I'm gonna grab one of these darker colors. So yeah, I mean, most likely if I pick this one, it's gonna be either pretty similar or a little bit darker or lighter. But yeah, I think if we go through all of these screens, there's not gonna be a lot of other shades that we're gonna notice. So let's analyze them. First, the main brand color, the hue is at 219, so almost 220. We can kind of have that as a reference point. And here, with really dark shades, you're sometimes going to have like a little shift hue that's going to reset it to red. We already saw it in one of the previous demo videos, where if you color pick something, even though the starting hue was set to something in here, if there's no saturation involved and like there's a lack of brightness, it can really reset the hue to something else. So even though most likely I think they maybe did start with something in the 220 area, it got shifted because there wasn't saturation used in it. In this, you can see that it's really close. So again, sometimes it's not going to be like fully perfect. Maybe it's because of like screenshotting, maybe it's because of like other factors, but all in all, it's still pretty close at 216. So 219, that's just like a 3 degree difference when it comes to hue. This is 5 saturation and 40 brightness. And here, let's see what happens. Again, hue shifts a little bit towards the like local minimum that we have, so it's shifting more close to cyan. When we're thinking about luminosity, the perceived brightness, the saturation is a little bit lower, because as you're moving closer and closer to lighter and lighter shades, the color is going to be, the hue is going to be more noticeable if the number is higher. And in here, the brightness is going up. Again, 2020, so really close to 219. Again, it's probably just like a slight shift and maybe a small discrepancy, but overall you can really see that it stays in the close proximity of 220. And we have the saturation at 3, this at 90, 210 to 98. So overall, like all of these shades, besides this one, are using a little subtle hint and tint of blue. And you can really kind of notice it if you focus on it. But overall, like if you ask anyone, they would just say like, yeah, that's a shade of gray. So that's kind of the almost gray part of everything that I'm going to share with you. Because even though it is using gray, it adds just a little bit of saturation to make it feel more cohesive with everything else that you see in the UI. I just want to see if there's like a different dark color that they're using. So this one seems to have a little bit of blue inside. Let me see, maybe, oh, sorry. This, no. Yeah, it doesn't seem to. Like the really dark ones are almost black. Not like really black, but almost black. So again, you really want to avoid black on white, and especially like reverse. But yeah, in most other areas, like this darkest color that they're using for text is, again, I'm just guessing that maybe it's just like a little thing that happened because of the fact that they are probably not using saturation, so we just reset it to 0. Okay, let's do the same thing for the Wise app. So I'm gonna grab their green, and a lot of these areas I'm just gonna grab one really dark shade of gray, like a mid shade of gray. This is just pure white. This might be the same shade that I already picked, but I can pick this one. And let's pick another lighter one. Maybe we can do something like this. And finally, one more, the unselected one. Okay. Again, I'm just gonna grab them, turn them into auto layout so I can quickly shift them around as needed. And you're gonna notice two things. It seems like they have some shades of gray that have a little bit more branding inside of them. So like this one and this one, you can definitely already see the green inside of them. And even in the screens, you can easily kind of pinpoint, yeah, it does feel like it does have a low green saturation. And these ones, we're gonna see if they have some green inside. So the hue seems to be somewhere around 90, and here we go 75, so not too far off, especially knowing that green takes a really big chunk of the color wheel. So this one 84, more closer to 90, perfect. This one is just like a pure gray, which is interesting, I didn't expect it. 90 and 60. This one is moving towards yellow. Again, the big point of brightness that we have when it comes to how we perceive colors. So if you want to create lighter and lighter shades, you can easily kind of push your color towards those peaks that we have on our luminosity chart and graph. So yeah, what we learn from this is they seem to add like bits and pops of color into some of these elements, especially in here if it's something selected. Even though it does appear gray, it still has that tint of green inside. And in one area they used a completely gray shade, which is interesting. I just want to see where did that happen. Is it here in the text? Oh, even in here they are using just like grays. So interesting. Was it in here? Yeah, I think this one. So the unselected ones, these three, are just like totally without branding, gray neutral colors, and when you select it, it gives it that little bit of hint of color, but it still doesn't overtake this main action that they want to promote in their navigation. Okay, let's look at a final example. The Apple Blue. One thing that you're going to notice, some of these elements inside of the app are not going to be using blue, so they use a lot of this orange. Again, if we think about colors, like blue and orange are on the opposite sides of the color wheel, so they're like complementary colors that are going to work really well together. And you usually use orange when you want to draw attention to something, and blue is going to be your primary one. You can do the reverse as well, but usually when you're thinking about colors like that, you're gonna flip it and use the warmer one, the more noticeable one, which is kind of the energetic orange that we have in here, to draw attention to some elements. If you kind of squint and look at the screen, you can easily see that these areas are going to pop up more than some of these blue links and primary actions that we have on the screen. And let's color pick. I picked this screen because it has an illustration, so I just wanted to kind of double check if maybe they have a hint of blue or orange inside of it. And let's do a couple more. For text. So I can pick this one, the text in here. This gray. Maybe this gray. Just want to double check if this is this background. No, it's not. So I'm gonna do this again, and I think that's gonna be enough for us for now. So if I'm not mistaken, this is gonna be the background color. Okay, so we have the blue, which is set to 220 almost, 14 for orange. And here 250, which is used for all of these backgrounds where the background is not white. 240, so closer to our blue shade, is used on all of these elements like this, right? Yeah. Or it's not the same. I wonder where I picked that one from. Oh, it must be the illustration one. Yeah. Okay. So the illustration is really using that that hue. The saturation is just 2, but the brightness is almost like it's higher than 90. So it's really going to be noticeable. If you just shift it for 1 more to 3, you can already see a really big impact of that blue inside. So that's the part where you're kind of just like slowly shifting up and down by one value, and you're trying to see if it works or not. So one thing that you're going to notice in here, in some of the slider texts, like this one, I'm not sure It's going to be the same for all of the other ones. It doesn't seem so. There's this one area where Apple seems to be using pure black, but it does seem to be like a very, very saturated black. And now when I color picked it again, it brought me to 240. So I'm still guessing that there is like a little hint of color inside, especially because it's not like 0000, it's 010101. But it also changes like in different areas. You can see it like 010103. So it does seem to have a little bit of blue inside. Sometimes the saturation is like as high as 100, while the brightness is at 0. But as soon as there is brightness of 1, the saturation seems to pop. So again, it could be anything. I doubt that they're using like really just black. It seems to be a really dark gray with just a subtle bit of brightness, so that the blue inside can kind of come out a little bit. In here, this is going to be just like a truly neutral gray, and in here the same thing. So they're only playing with brightness in here, and those are some of the elements like this one where they're using them on the card and not as anything else. So it's not like a background element for the app or something like that. So yeah, we analyzed a couple of apps. You can see that there is kind of like, with most of these grays, there is at least a little bit of hue injected inside of them, and the designers did it purposefully to kind of subtly hint at the branding inside of the grays. And that's why I always use them as like almost grays, because you're rarely going to have neutral palettes that you're going to use in your design where you're just going to be using like gray without any kind of warm or cold subtone to them. This video was a little bit longer than I planned initially, but I really wanted to analyze it. So I'm going to split this lesson into 2 parts. One of them where we're just analyzing other products, and the other one where we're going to learn about other places where grays and almost grays are used in UI design. So see you in the next video.